Hello friends, and welcome to my deep dive into Minecraft's achievements. Now, Minecraft is a game that's captured the imagination of millions of children worldwide, and let's be honest, it's also spawned some pretty degenerate content right here on YouTube. Minecraft was a large part of my childhood, but today, we're not just taking a nostalgic trip down memory lane, we're about to tackle Minecraft's ridiculous achievements.
Take this shit no more, man.
And because I like to make things interesting, I made a bet with my top donor, Hollowed. The deal? I've got to complete all the achievements before I die 20 times. From simply gathering wood to defeating the Ender Dragon. Let's hop right into it. I spawned into a vast desert, surrounded by endless sand. Not wanting to waste any time or starve to death, I sprinted off in a random direction, hoping to stumble across some vegetation. Luckily, I found a village early on, and not wanting to upset the locals, I replanted the crops in this seedy place. Further exploration led me to a savanna biome where I turned the wheat I borrowed into bread and then crafted a wooden pickaxe. After briefly mining some stone, I had officially entered the Stone Age. Getting an upgrade was easy enough. While exploring, I dodged an arrow like Neo from the Matrix. And took out the skeleton that fired it, becoming a true monster hunter. During the search for iron, I asked my chat for advice on how summoning new players should work. They decided I had to sacrifice the equivalent of 24 diamonds for my first helper, and double the cost on each repeated helper. After the fruitless hunt for iron, I returned to the surface to find that nighttime had come. Exhausted, I took out some sheep, crafted a bed, and bid the world sweet dreams. The next morning, I stumbled upon a desert temple. Inside, I found a saddle, iron horse armor, and something new, a smithing template. At the time, I thought this smithing template was more valuable than it actually is. It was then I found a massive cavern, rich with resources but crawling with monsters. Fearlessly I dove in, mining iron and smelting it down, acquiring hardware. Isn't it ironic that I expected multiple diamonds but only got one? Later, using my shield to block a skeleton's shot, I muttered, "Not today, thank you." I also stumbled upon a glow squid, and of course I had to take it out for its glow sack. With my resources piling up, I suited up in a brand new shiny iron chestplate. Finally tired of wandering, I decided to settle down. I tamed a horse, my best friend forever, and started collecting blocks for my new home. Once my home was built, I dug a basement for storage and labeled my chests, and then I used a glow sack on a sign. Lo and behold, my new creation. Back in the caves, I searched for more diamonds and iron, but my chat decided to mess with me by spamming creeper noises, sending my nerves through the roof. A battle for my life ensued. Dispatching 2 zombies and losing a skeleton, I turned around to face the Chicken Knight in glowing golden armor. He summoned a small horde, and with my nerves shot, I barely made it out alive. I took aim and picked off the remaining mobs. On my way back, I grabbed a bucket of lava, thinking, that's some hot stuff. Then I poured freezing cold water on the lava, forcing it to take the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. To prepare for enchanting, I set up a cow pen for leather and a wheat field to breed and make more cows. Before a little breeding session, I had to give them the old parrots and the bats talk though. With my base finally established, I crafted a map and set off to explore. When I finally returned to the village that had fed me before, I found it under siege by a zombie horde. After some failed attempts at horseback combat, I tied up my horse and fought on foot, sleeping in one of their beds afterward to stop the zombie spawns, a decision I would regret later. Further in my exploration, I found a mangrove swamp and was pleasantly surprised to spot a frog. I also came across a zombie spawner, which I turned into a mob grinder for future XP farming. Back at my base, I quickly set up an enchanting table and lit my nether portal. As I ventured into the nether, "We need to go deeper," my therapist said as he wondered how I came to having a crippling achievement addiction. Mining some nether quartz for XP, I nearly fell to my death while trying to descend a cliff. Unfortunately, I caught the attention of a zombified piglin and it finished me off. Honestly, I think it was a bug since I only took fall damage and didn't damage another piglin. Waking up back in the desert village, I panicked a little bit. Not because I lost my gear, but because now I'm one death closer to losing the bed. I dashed back into the Nether, determined to recover whatever remained of my items. Thankfully, some hadn't been lost to the lava below. I carved a path back to the portal, and with that, I now had a clear route to the rest of the Nether. But before I could explore, it was time to start the hunt for diamonds. A moment of panic hit when a band of skeletons ambushed me. Luckily, their arrows found each other instead of me, and I let them handle my dirty work. With my newfound spoils, I headed home and stowed everything away. I crafted a new pickaxe and became an enchanter, as I imbued it with my first enchantment. Desperate for better enchantments, I sought out wild cows for their leather. After crafting a spyglass, I marched toward the jungle and asked, "Is it a bird?" while staring down a wild parrot. I bred my herd of cows one last time before slaughtering all but the calves, and started farming sugarcane to make paper. While looking for sugarcane to start the sugar farm, I stumbled upon a squad of pillagers. They kindly took it easy on me by shooting each other, which gave me the chance to slip into voluntary exile. I didn't want innocent villagers to pay for my bad omen. Eventually, I had enough bookshelves for full level 30 enchants, and my next task was clear: full enchanted diamond gear. Mining for gold and nether quartz in the Nether proved lucrative for XP. Eventually, I rounded a corner and spotted a ghast who promptly shot a fireball at me. "Hold my beer," I muttered, preparing to bat it back. The fireball exploded in my face, and I was knocked into the lava, losing everything. That one stung, but I had no choice but to move on. Of course, I headed straight back into the Nether because XP. With revenge on my mind, I found the nearest ghast and let it shoot at me. I wasn't accepting this delivery, however, so I marked it Return to Sender. With my bloodlust finally satisfied, I realized I should probably have moved on sooner. My thirst for achievements had me bringing my spyglass into the Nether, staring into the abyss. "Is it a balloon?" I asked. I returned to strip mining, but held off on collecting any diamonds. I was saving myself for the fortune enchantment, which could boost the number of diamonds I'd get per block. All I needed to do was head back to my base, enchant a new pickaxe, and return to collect my new fortune. Over time, I had been breeding my cows, and with my pen overflowing with beef, I culled the herd. After collecting the diamonds from my mine using fortune, I came home and covered myself in diamonds. Using the excess XP, I enchanted my diamond pickaxe. Unfortunately, I got fortune again, which I was hoping for efficiency and unbreaking. Oh well, back to the Nether. I found a piglin willing to trade valuable gold ingots for gravel? Crying obsidian? Seriously? Who's cutting onions? While farming for ender pearls, I aggroed an enderman, and just as I was dealing with it, a ghast caught me in its sights. Running around like a chicken with its head cut off, I couldn't stay still long enough to kill either one of them. Somehow, I survived that ordeal and pressed on, looking for another fortress or a bastion, a pair of real hot tourist destinations. Eventually, I stumbled upon a bastion remnant and couldn't help but think those were the days, remembering the simple times before bastions even existed. Back at my base, I enchanted my sword and helmet before returning to the Nether, this time digging in a brand new direction. Less than 200 blocks away, I finally found a terrible fortress, a crucial step forward. Bridging across, I had a close call when a blaze clipped me, nearly sending me to my fiery end. At a blaze spawner, I built a roof and tried to encapsulate it for future farming. Unfortunately, while taking out one of the blazes, I nearly got cast into fire myself. In fact, I did get cast into fire, another one for the death counter. Undeterred, I ran back in, retrieved my gear, and barely escaped death yet again. With my fully enchanted diamond gear and 9 brand new Eyes of Ender in hand, I set out to find the nearest stronghold. I spy with my little eye a portal frame with 12 empty slots. I was short on materials to activate it, so it was back to the Nether for more blaze rods and ender pearls. While there, I looted a crossbow off the corpse of a piglin and named it Old Betsy. I also managed to collect a skull from a spooky, scary skeleton. After all of this grinding, I took a quick break to tackle some of the more miscellaneous achievements. I got into a sniper duel with an innocent skeleton over 50 blocks away. After that, I spent a considerable amount of time working on some intricate redstone machinery, an apparatus so advanced no Minecraft player has ever seen its equal. Years of research, devotion, and mathematics culminated in a contraption that guarantees a bullseye with every volley of shots. Next, I dug all the way down to bedrock and then pillared all the way up to the build limit. I jumped off reflecting on all the caves and cliffs I had leapt from before this. Finally, I had mustered the courage to face the Ender Dragon. The end? Nah, son, this is only session 4, it's just the beginning. Armed with my trusty spyglass, I peered through it, asking, is that a plane? I built an enderproof mushroom to farm pearls with, but the dragon's magic breath forced me out from under it, right into the arms of a horde of angry endermen.
Yes, hello. I was wondering if you could play that song again.
Which one, man?
The one that goes...
Just as victory seemed certain, the dragon launched me into the air, trying to claim my life a second time. With barely 1 second to even react, I threw an ender pearl, avoiding certain death, to the void. After collecting my 58 levels of XP, I secured the dragon egg, ensuring the next generation would know of my triumph. To celebrate, I indulged in some fishy business, but not in the ordinary way. I went tactical fishing with a bucket. In true sneaky fashion, I placed a campfire under a beehive and used a glass bottle to steal their honey. Be our guest, they said, as they died from smoke inhalation. My next mission? Collect 3 weather skeleton skulls. But just as I was getting into it, my family decided it was the perfect time to make me babysit a puppy. Turns out that puppy sitting and trying to avoid death don't mix well. After some quick sunken ship pillaging, I stumbled upon a ruin where a drowned was hurling a trident at me. Luckily for me, when I killed him, he dropped it, giving me a shiny brand new weapon. I also found a map that led me to a buried treasure, where I unearthed the Heart of the Sea, a crucial item for this achievement hunt. While checking my achievement list, I spotted one that intrigued me. I attempted to break my fall by landing on a honey block. With nothing but these vague instructions, I took it upon myself to invent several new moves. The 10-block drop, the surprise attack, the side pounce, the side swipe, the 420 honey clutch, the face full of honey, and of course, the sticky situation. With that mastered, I decided to build a large path and fill it with lava. On my way to transport buckets of lava, I bribed a piglin with gold to leave me alone. I swear I heard him mutter, "Ooh, shiny." One of my return trips from the Nether took a strange turn. I was transported to an underground dungeon instead of my home. Hearing the thunder outside, I tried returning through the portal, hoping that the issue would fix itself. No luck. I dug straight up, only to find my house being struck by lightning and catching fire. Seizing the opportunity, I grabbed my trident and a lightning rod, but things only got worse when phantoms spawned, thanks to my lack of sleep. I sprinted to the nearby village and unceremoniously evicted a villager from his home. I installed a surge protector just in time to prevent a fire. As punishment for not following my instructions, I used a throwaway joke on the villager before the storm subsided. Heading back to the Nether with a mushroom on a stick, I found some striders and lured one out of the lava. "Whoa, this boat has legs," I exclaimed, accidentally right-clicking to speed him up. After realizing that getting the strider to climb blocks was more hassle than it was worth, I opted to bring the portal to him. Navigating him through the portal was tricky enough, but dismounting in the center did the trick. I created a new lava runway in the overworld for the strider, hoping it now feels like home. Next up, I set my sights on full netherite armor. I built a pen for the sheep, started breeding them, and in the meantime, traded half a stack of sticks for an emerald at the village. What a deal, I thought. After shearing the sheep, I mass-produced beds and headed back into the Nether. All I had to do was place the bed. At least the death message was funny. After recovering my gear, I looked into armor trims and crafted a new look. Though I don't really care about cosmetics, at all. I then wasted 4 whole blocks of iron on hired help for the village. While I was there, I mistakenly thought there was an achievement for maxing out a villager's trade level, not for trading at build height limit. I spent the better part of an hour grinding, only to realize I was way off base. Wait a minute, I can't be wrong, I'm the great devotee! Clearly this villager must be fed to the undead for heresy. But first, I visited my local brewery for a potion of weakness, just in case this heretic tried any tricks. You know, I kinda feel bad for feeding that villager to a zombie. I guess I can play zombie doctor for a moment and cure him. Upon returning to my base, I built a redstone machine so complex, I have no idea what it actually does. Something about the power of books, maybe? With stronger armor on my mind, I headed back to the Nether and began strip mining for Netherite. After what felt like an eternity, I finally found my first piece hidden in the depths. My chat quickly got bored of watching me strip mine and insisted I tried the bed blast mining technique. I was still traumatized from the last time a bed blew me to bits, but Hollowed reassured me with, if you die to this, it won't count. Thanks to a video by Tennis Gamer, I figured out how to do it properly. Shout out to Tennis Gamer. 8 ancient debris later, I thought I had enough to upgrade my armor and my tools. But wait, it's 4 debris and 4 gold per netherite ingot? Oh man, it looks like upgrading is 4 times as expensive as I thought. Feeling a little bit defeated, I switched gears and tackled some lighter tasks. I sheared a beehive for beeswax and grabbed an axe along with one of my many copper blocks. Doctor, please help my son. What's wrong with him? Well, he's always waxing on and whacking off. After that, I crafted a lodestone using chiseled stone bricks and one of my precious netherite ingots. Then set a compass to it. Country load, take me home to the place that I made my home. Ever so curious about a structure near the Nether fortress, I bridged over to it. Naturally, ghasts started targeting me and I nearly painted my pants brown. Inside the bastion, I broke a random block and all around me, all I could hear was snorting. I was convinced that they were coming for me, but luckily, they weren't. I managed to steal a small chest from these war pigs and moved on. After trading with a piglin and getting some more crying obsidian, I returned home and decided it was time for something truly epic. I upgraded my diamond hoe into a netherite hoe, demonstrating my serious dedication to the art of farming. I grabbed some glowstone from my chest, crafted a respawn anchor, and headed back to the Nether. After filling it with 4 glowstone blocks, I had not quite 9 lives in the Nether. And for the rest of this stream, I spent mining more netherite. It's a grind, but someone's gotta do it. I enchanted a pickaxe with silk touch so I could move a beehive without permanently destroying it. What I didn't know was when a bee stings you, it dies. Undeterred, I found a hive in a nearby forest, destroyed it, and dragged the lone bee all the way back to my home hive. Just as I was about to release it, a rogue arrow came out of nowhere and killed Barry B. Benson on the spot. Everyone in chat was emotional, even former President Barack Obama shed a tear or two. But in death, there's life. I bred the 2 remaining bees to make a third, more appropriately sized one. Just as things were looking up, one of the adult bees immediately died for no apparent reason. I went right back into the spiral of beepression. Needing a distraction from this, I returned to the Nether to mine more ancient debris. Everything was going well until I forgot to place a block in front of me during a bed blast. I managed to recover most of my gear, but my food was lost to the flames, so rotten pork was on the menu for tonight. After a quick diamond mining trip to craft templates for netherite upgrades, I finally covered myself in debris and felt like a true champion. On my very next beekeeping attempt, I finally understood that bees die when they sting you, and that took me long enough. Breeding them without getting stung was a breeze this time, and I was able to use my Silk Touch pickaxe to totally belocate these buzzed nerds. Realizing that I would need villagers for my future plans, I set up some small stalls and began building a breeder. My first farmer was successfully trapped, and I went back to claim the villager I had previously zombified and then cured. With them in place, I took a quick glance at my achievement list and found a new goal. Go into the Nether, travel 1,000 blocks away, and set up another portal. After walking through it, I created a subspace bubble. I focused on trading with my villagers, aiming to get specific enchantments for a huge battle I had coming up. I needed more arrows but lacked feathers, so I quickly set up a chicken farm. For trading purposes, I planted carrots, melons, pumpkins, potatoes, even beetroot. Basically, I went full on Farmville mode. Unfortunately, I struggled to get the farmers to actually take their jobs. I even made an underground area for them to sleep in, but these guys were picky. After some serious grinding, I finally landed a Smite 4 enchanted book trade. I quickly learned that unhappy villagers refused to trade more, so I had to let them out of their cages to cheer them up. In all honesty, who cares about the peasants' happiness, though? More grinding eventually got me some blast protection books. Things were looking up. Needing a ton of gold for a future project, I farmed zombie piglins and explored the Nether for gold to mine. Woo! That was scary. Next, I brewed up some strength potions, prepping to deal extra damage and take down the next boss faster. I even trapped some chickens nearby for a wither rose for way later down the line and placed the final skull. The wither was summoned. Yeah, I think I got what I was looking for. Golden apples don't last long enough. Looking back on that fight, I realized my bow was barely scratching the wither, which was healing faster than I could deal damage. Eventually, I recovered what was left of my gear and decided to let the wither wander the land on his own. Maybe he'll find a way to end himself and we'll get the achievement that way. After that embarrassment, I decided to try something equally insane. Fishing a ghast through a portal to kill it in the overworld. In an attempt to clear out piglins to spawn more gas, I somehow left open a block in my bunker, letting them pile in. Miraculously, I escaped. I managed to pillar up out of their range and pick them off one by one. Back at the village, I finally got my hands on some mending books so I wouldn't need to worry about my armor breaking from overuse. I used the excess wheat from my farms to make bread and fed the villagers, hoping that they would make more villagers. I was determined to recover my pride. I waltzed into that nether fortress and with my looting sword in hand, I started collecting the wither skulls. Just gotta jump across this gap here and god damn it! As I was harvesting carrots to eat, a creeper snuck up and blew open my cow pen. At this point, I thought my luck could only improve. Turns out, I was wrong. Again. A raid appeared. Luckily, my villagers were protected by a wall and I started picking off enemies one by one. I knew raids were a thing before, but I was completely caught off guard by the Ravager. I'd never seen one before. What the fuck is that thing? While using a crossbow on a pillager, I smugly said, "Who is the pillager now?" Later, I met a Vindicator, an evil magician who summons Vexes, another mob I hadn't encountered yet. He dropped a totem of undying, which I stashed away for later. Poisoned by a witch and surrounded by Vexes, I didn't stand a chance. After that disaster, I discovered that pillagers apparently can't see over fences, so I exploited that. Call me a chicken, I don't care. After a few more waves of the raid, the last pillager just disappeared into thin air. Now it was time to fight the Wither, for real this time. One last gamer stretch, cause yeah, I'm gonna get my ass kicked probably, but here goes nothing. Rest in peace, these little bunnies right next to me. Shit, Wither! Good thing I had that totem of undying because I was too busy celebrating to realize I was about to die. I became post-mortal. Back at my base, I immediately crafted a beacon and proudly brought home the beacon, using a gold stand to make it shine. Now I needed a lot of gold, and technically I had to kill a ghast while I'm in the overworld, but the position of the ghast doesn't matter. So, naturally, I returned to the Nether and farmed piglins for gold between my ghast hunting attempts. My sword one-shotted these piglins, so I didn't have to worry about being swarmed. After many attempts and a close-range battle, I finally nailed it. Uneasy Alliance is done. Next, I enchanted my trident with channeling, grabbed my lightning rod, and sprinted to the village. One quick zap later, I turned a villager into a witch. It's very, very frightening how fast someone can change, isn't it? After a few quick mining trips, I was able to get my hands on the all-new Beaconator from Mendy's. Then I crafted some end crystals for something special coming up, and grabbed the dragon egg, heading back to the end. Placing the egg and the 4 crystals around it, the dragon was reborn in the end again. The dragon immediately fired its magic breath, which smelled so bad it could be bottled. You need a mint, stank-ass dragon. After breaking some of the respawned crystals, I wasn't prepared for its next attack. I died of gingivitis. I went straight back for round 2. The dragon launched me into the air, and I tried to clutch with a water bucket, but, well, you know how that goes most of the time. There. Later, I built up to the end gateway and threw a pearl through it. On the other side, I found myself in a remote getaway. So remote, in fact, that I had to dismantle the island I was on to bridge to another one. After a good bit of exploration, I finally discovered the city at the end of the game. Dealing with 1,000 shulkers while setting up a 50-block vertical runway, nightmare fuel. Great view from up here, though too bad it's in such a monochromatic area. While exploring for more end cities, I stumbled upon one with a flying ship on the outskirts. I built up to it, and inside I found an Elytra, in an item frame. Sky's the limit now that I have this bad boy. Speaking of skies, I had a villager to get all the way up to build height limit. I quickly constructed a staircase with railings all the way to the heavens. I trapped one unlucky villager, separated him from his family, and coaxed him up the stairs one painful step at a time. About a quarter of the way up, he escaped and ran back down to the village. Great. This was a true test of patience. After what felt like an eternity, about an hour later, I finally got him to the top. We bonded during that long climb. I learned about his family, his dreams, his hobbies. Really, he was a stand-up guy. But after wasting an entire hour of my time because he refused to climb the stairs, I had no mercy left in me. Star Trader? I hardly know her. With that behind me, I embarked on a journey to an ancient city. I heard the squelching of the deep dark and immediately crouched. Oh nice, a level up. Creeped out by the sounds, I dug down and soon found myself in the middle of an ancient city. I killed a skeleton near a skulk sensor and watched as it spread. On my way back home, I stumbled upon the original wither I summoned. I thought it would have despawned by now, but nope. Turns out I unleashed a wither onto the world and never bothered to fix it. Oh well, surely this won't come back to haunt me later. Wanting to take a break from my exploration, I got my hands on a crossbow and set my sights on the crossbow-related achievements. First up, I needed 5 different species of mobs lined up, ready to be shot. Turns out, when you use a skeleton for this, it just shoots at you and kills the other mobs you're trying to line up. After I removed the skeleton, the rest was easy. Boats are a lifesaver. I threw a potion of poison at them after lining them all up and fired. No luck. Apparently, zombies don't have a heartbeat, so poison doesn't do much to them. Back to the drawing board, I guess. I redesigned the trap to be just a 1x1 hole and forced each species into it. After beating the zombie to a pulp and poisoning the rest, including myself, I fired a piercing crossbow into the crowd. Boom. Arbalistic is now my second favorite word that starts with A and ends in ick. Next, I got mending and breaking for my Elytra so I wouldn't have to worry about getting another one. Then mass-produced fireworks. I took my first flight from the top of my staircase and flew all the way to a nearby ruin. There, I brushed as much suspicious sand as I could find. I unearthed a pottery shard, and now I knew I should be respecting the remnants of past civilizations. After visiting several more locations and plenty of brushing, I found a weird egg that smells interesting. Once I found 4 pottery shards, I carefully restored an ancient pot. Ancient civilizations are boring now. I ran home and planted the egg, unsure of what might hatch. After that long adventure, I went fishing. I don't really like eating fish, so naturally it was time to get a new pet that does, or maybe a few of them. Off to the desert village. Along the way, my appreciation for my Elytra grew exponentially. This trek would have taken ages without it. Once I arrived, I tamed a cat. While I was following a stray kitty, I was ambushed by a ton of skeletons, zombies, and phantoms. I tried to line the phantoms up for a multi-kill, but no luck. Waiting for cats to spawn quickly became boring. I had to stay near the village to ensure that they'd spawn, which seriously detracted from the fun. While waiting, more phantoms spawned, so I kited them until they were lined up and ready to be shot. After 3 tries, I finally killed 2 birds with 1 arrow. Wait, are these things birds? Why couldn't this achievement work with chickens? I tamed a cat. Then, I tamed a cat. When I got back home, I finally found out the weird egg I had planted earlier finally hatched. Safe to say I wasn't very impressed. Okay, let's look at this fucking thing. What the hell is that? What? Its texture looks kind of cool. It sounds like a villager. To see if any more kitties had spawned, I opened up the village walls. I tamed a cat. I tamed a cat. I tamed a cat. I tamed a cat. Then I realized I could work on another achievement while waiting for more cats. I decided to have an all-you-can-eat buffet in one sitting. A baked potato, beetroot soup, chorus fruit, cooked rabbit, dried kelp, a pufferfish, which poisoned me, forcing my hunger down, mushroom stew, pumpkin pie, rabbit stew, raw beef, raw cod, raw mutton, raw pork chop, raw salmon, a spider eye, and a tropical fish. I picked up a disease for every day of the year. All I was missing were sweet berries and an enchanted golden apple. There were a few other items I consumed earlier in the run, but they didn't make it into the list because I wasn't focused on the achievement at the time. I tamed a cat. I tamed a cat. Bored of waiting for cats, I figured I could probably find the last 2 in my travels, so I grabbed a few key items and set off. But not before using Chunkbase and ChatGPT to calculate the most efficient route. Along the way, I found a goat, put the goat in a boat, and floated in a boat with a goat. Then, I found a meadow, pulled out my jukebox, and filled the air with the sound of music. How nice. I tamed a cat. Above a village, I discovered a raider outpost, so I decided to raid the raiders. After clearing them out, I freed the captive Allays. After some brief item tests, I realized I needed 2 cakes. You've got a friend in me. You're watching Toy Story. With the Allay delivering the cake to me while I played a note block, I sang myself a birthday song. Surprisingly, not the saddest birthday celebration I've had. Maybe I'm drunk, fuck you.
Hey, you wanna?
I fucking bet, bro. Get a bag over your head and I'll go to town. As long as I don't know it's a dude's dick that I'm sucking, really. Wait. Oh. Much further into my exploration, I found some sweet berries. I ate them along with the enchanted golden apple. It really does pay to have a balanced diet. In a swamp, I came across a witch hut. I wasn't interested in the witch, I had my eyes on that BBC. At last, I had tamed a complete catalog. Eventually, I had just 1 biome left to find, but I did not know which one. A lot of troubleshooting and outdated game information later, I was frustrated that the game didn't just show a list of missing biomes instead of filling up a vague bar over time. Luckily, Hollowed came through and figured it out for me. It was the windswept gravelly hills. Honestly, what's the point of half of these biomes? Leather boots apparently make you light as a rabbit, regardless of what other armor you might be wearing. Soon after, I found a lush cave biome filled with axolotls. I scooped up the cutest predator in a bucket. Knowing there's an achievement for breeding 2 of every animal, I took advantage of being nearby and bred 2 of these axolotls. And using the healing power of friendship, we took down a drowned together. At last, I stumbled across the pedantic little biome I was missing, and adventuring time was finished. Now it was time for the last journey home. I went out in search of another sniffer egg, knowing I'd eventually have to breed them. My current sniffer dug up some torchflower seeds, so naturally I planted the past. Unfortunately, torchflowers only turn into orange dye when they're grown, so pretty useless if they're planted. According to the wiki, sniffers have an 8-minute cooldown between seed searches, so I had plenty of waiting to do. I passed the time by doing some terraforming. Eventually, he dug up more torchflower seeds and I fed them to little sniffs. Bored out of my mind waiting for the sniffer to dig literally anything else, I started clearing an entire chunk of blocks. Eventually, the baby sniffer matured and I bred the 2 of them. Next on the list, frogs. I went back to the spot where I last saw them months ago. Growing tadpoles in the temperate plains biome gave me a brown frog. Then I took the white frog from the swamp and the brown frogs all the way to a cold biome to breed and make a green frog. During the trip, I found the boat goat. Felt bad, so I got him a wife. And they immediately had a kid. I plopped down another portal and waited for the green frogs to grow. While I was waiting, I got a bucket of tadpoles. In the Nether, I flattened and frog-proofed a large area. Eventually, the last frog matured. When the squad hops into town, you know those magma cubes are in trouble. With our powers combined, the frogs and I made these 3 weird glowing lights. I don't know what these are for. Next up, I had to slay 1 of each hostile mob that was still on my list. First was a zombified hoglin, the non-undead version of which, annoyingly, kept running away after aggroing to me. I had to force this poor creature through the portal. After dealing with that, I bred a couple hoglins so I wouldn't have to come back. On my way back to the base, I decided to fly with my Elytra and promptly smacked face first into a wall and fell into lava. I returned to find my armor still intact, since Netherite doesn't melt. But there was still a risk of it despawning, and I was surrounded by magma cubes. To avoid the situation getting worse, I flipped the game to peaceful mode for a second, and sometimes you just gotta use the game's own mechanics against it. Next on the chopping block, an endermite. These guys only have a 5% chance of spawning when you use an ender pearl or eat a chorus fruit. 1 chop later, it was dead. Then, the elder guardian was up. Arrows don't work so well underwater, but a trident with loyalty? Perfect. I enchanted it with Impaling 5 and headed to the water temple. After chugging down a couple of water breathing potions, I easily killed the elder guardian. The last of the monsters hunted was the guardian outside the temple. I also bred 2 pigs really quick, bred my horse with a wild horse, bred 2 striders, and 2 turtles. After all that, I realized I needed a replacement Elytra for faster travel, so I went out and found one. After some brief enchanting, I set out to spread love and harmony, because let's face it, I've killed a lot of stuff in this world, I gotta balance it out with some lovemaking. I made 2 mushrooms proud parents, dragged a camel across an entire ocean just to make him a disappointed dad, and dug a deeper hole for 2 donkeys who now have to pay to support a child. I even bred a horse with a donkey. Congratulations, it's a drug mule. Somehow, I even got 2 lazy pandas to mate.
冰淇淋，我很喜欢冰淇淋，但是
I'm not super surprised I haven't gotten you any though. Next, I tried getting ocelots to do it like they do on the Discovery Channel, but I couldn't right-click through the jungle fauna. Out of pure frustration, I deforested an entire section of the jungle, and finally, ocelots were off my list. I helped 2 rabbits get lucky, match-made myself and your entire ancestry tree, and even force-fed berries to a baby fox, encouraging its growth, then bred it with its own mother. I even got llamas to get freaky. In search of a pair of armadillos, I ended up very far from my base. perfect time for a creeper to end me. I sprinted back to the region, but I couldn't find my gear in time, losing all my netherite gear, everything I had grinded for, and another elytra. Devastating doesn't even cover it. Considering that I just told you I did your whole family, you can only imagine a fraction of how gutted I was. I thought I had no choice but to return to the Nether for more netherite. To rub salt in the wound, while mining for netherite, I fell into lava. Fortunately, I managed to save my gear. Determined to get back on the horse, I went into the Nether for some XP grinding. As if to kick me while I was down, the game spawned a ghast at the perfect angle to see me and blow a hole in my shelter. I can already imagine the comments now. Why didn't you make it out of cobblestone? Ghast can't blow that up. And to that I say, thank you. You're very smart, but I didn't think of it at the time. The gas shot again, kablooey, and more piglins got in. They slaughtered me. Exasperated after the last stream's disasters and desperate for some help, I sacrificed the equivalent of 24 diamonds to summon an unpaid intern. After dragging this stray back to my base, I set him to work recovering the diamonds he cost me. It only seemed fair. Actually, scratch that. Make it 3 sets of diamond armor. 1 to replace his cost, 1 for me, and 1 for him. While my intern was busy mining, I sprinted back towards spawn to breed 2 armadillos. 2 by 2, all the animals were bred. I even brushed these armadillos. Aw, isn't it cute? I wanted to farm these armadillos so I wouldn't have to go far for scutes in the future. I found 4 of them and started leading them back to my base, only to be intercepted by the wild wither. I escaped with my life, barely, but the poor armadillos, instant death. I spent some time searching for a rusty wolf, but quickly got bored and realized I had enough materials to make myself a full set of diamond armor and upgrade it to netherite. By this time, my intern had finished replenishing my diamond stash, so I had him start working on a library. A sanctuary for my precious enchanting book villagers. Once again, I went out elytra hunting. I offered to grab one for my intern, but he refused. No wings for him, I guess. His loss. Instead, I turned my focus to the wolves. I tamed a rusty wolf. I immediately slapped some wolf armor on him and made this brand new armor good as new by using an armadillo scute. I tamed a pale wolf. I tamed a woods wolf. I tamed a black wolf. I returned home to check out the library, a large domed structure that my unpaid intern had built. It was impressive, though I couldn't help but think it felt more like a flex than a functional space. After that, I sent him off to farm Drowned in hopes of getting a new trident while I refocused my efforts on collecting smithing templates. According to the wiki, my first template would come from suspicious gravel. What I somehow didn't notice that it was specifically from trail ruins. So I wasted an absurd amount of time exploring cold oceans, sifting through ruins that had nothing to offer. Chunk Base couldn't help me locate trail ruins, so I resorted to using a command to find one. Finally, I secured my first smithing template, Wayfinder Trim. Next, I headed to a woodland mansion. After a few close calls, I finally grabbed the Vex Trim. From there, I journeyed to the nearest ancient city, aiming to pick up 2 more templates. With all these perfect landings, it's honestly a wonder how I managed to die here. At least I recovered all my stuff, though. I breached the ancient city, completely unaware of how to handle its terrifying contents. A warden spawned, and let's just say, well, there was liquid running down my leg. I tried my best to stay away from it, but eventually it found me. I was doomed. I had heard that if you stood really still, the warden wouldn't find you. In reality, if you're too close, it can smell you anyway, even if you're standing like a statue. In my panic, I completely forgot that I had a totem of undying. I was so terrified that I didn't even want to go back to get my gear. After that traumatizing encounter, I crafted some new diamond gear and teamed up with Hollowed for the trident hunt, figuring that strength in numbers would make things easier for the both of us. We managed to get a trident, and I enchanted it, ready for whatever's next in the coming session. While Hollowed stayed back to farm Netherite, I swam out to an ocean monument and took down Elder Guardians until I got the Tide Trim. From water to lava, I joined Hollowed in the Nether to hunt for another trim within a bastion. During our first bastion adventure, we got ambushed by a piglin brute. Turns out when he smacks your shield with his axe, it disables your shield temporarily, leaving you wide open. We both got wrecked, because clearly, we're professionals. Hollowed then managed to die again, losing all of his stuff to a zombie piglin. We tracked down Hollowed's biggest fan and took it out before wandering to the next bastion. There, Hollowed found the snout trim. After that, we ventured deeper into the Nether and stumbled upon another fortress. It didn't take long before we snagged the rib trim. On our way to find the spire trim, Hollowed insisted that we fight the wild wither. I was hesitant, knowing full well neither of us had the required gear to take it down. Surprise, surprise, Hollowed died instantly, and now I had a wither on my tail. Fantastic. I held out for a while, but eventually I met the same fate, naturally calling Hollowed an idiot as my soul left my body. After that disaster, Hollowed found the trim in an end chest. As we mined down to the ancient city, Hollowed thought it would be hilarious to mine the blocks beneath me, nearly killing me in the process. Then, as if karma were watching very closely, he mined the blocks under himself and, well...
Oh shit.
Rip Hollowed. The moment we reached the ancient city, a warden spawned. It was like a scene from a horror movie.
Yeah, just slowly step away from it. The moment it roars, you've been found. Use the stairs, do not jump.
Where is it? I'm so scared right now.
It should despawn soon. If I were you, I would get off the steps. Find a staircase block and walk down it.
I got it.
Right, wonderful. And do not step on any of the sensors. You can step near them if you're shifted, just do not step on them. And warning, he is right behind you.
He's right behind me, isn't he?
Shut up.
I'm so fucking scared right now. Oh. He's sniffing. He's following the trail of shit I'm leaving behind.
He's on the other end of the fucking chest carrying thing. I don't know if he's just gonna pathfind to you or if he's gonna be following the trail.
He's right there. Oh god.
We barely escaped, learning the hard way that you have to be far enough away for the warden not to smell you. In the second city, a bat decided to lead the warden directly to me. I've never cursed a random animal so much in my life.
Oh god, I'm
Found you,
fucked.
he's found you.
Yeah. That's so lame.
Easily the lamest death so far. With one final life, I charged back in to recover my gear. In this ancient city, we finally found the ward trim. And of course, the warden hit me again, sending me plummeting to my final death. The challenge has officially been failed. Further exploration of the city found me accidentally triggering a pair of note blocks.
Oh, mother.
Congratulations, you've just won a brand new warden! At this point, I gave up caring and just started sprinting through the city, dodging wardens like a madman. I guess reckless abandon was the way to go. At last, I found the final armor trim I needed. Now all that was left was to get back home and apply each of these trims. The moment we got home, I headed straight to the basement and applied some gold trims to all of my diamond armor. Now that's smithing with style. I sent Hollowed to the end to collect a shulker while I brewed up one of each potion we would need. I also tamed another pale wolf, but this time I remembered to use shears to remove the armor. Sheer brilliance is something I often display because, let's face it, the first time I completely forgot about the shears. I tamed an ashen wolf. I tamed a chestnut wolf. I tamed a spotted wolf. I tamed a snowy wolf. When I started this session, I hadn't realized they had made yet another update to the game, Trial Chambers. It was safe to say, I wasn't amused. Anyway, back to getting the striped wolf. I was elated to have the whole pack of wolves. On my way back, Hollowed set up a crafter, and when the lever above it was pulled, the crafter crafted a crafter. This automatic crafting block could probably be used for some crazy intricate redstone systems, but now that crafting's all automated, all that's left are miners. Next, we decided to check out the new trial chambers. Apparently, if you have an old world updated to the trial chambers version, any previously explored chunks are ineligible to spawn them. So even if I glanced at a chunk for half a second, the whole thing is locked from spawning a trial chamber. And I get why, they don't want players' builds overwritten, but for achievement hunting mid-update, it meant trial chambers were ridiculously far from my base. Regardless, Hollowed and I finally made the trek, using a map from a cartographer, and we got to experience Minecraft Trials Edition for the very first time. We got absolutely wrecked. Fortunately, we found some beds inside the chamber, otherwise it would have been a 40-minute walk each time we died. At least I was able to lighten up the place by scraping off a rusty old copper bulb. After clearing enough enemies, I found a trial key from one of the spawners. I went up to a loot box and out from under lock and key, I grabbed some sweet loot, including a bad omen bottle. Unfortunately, we had no clue what we were getting into when Hollow decided to chug the potion. We were swarmed by zombies, fully decked out with swords and armor. Eventually, we stumbled upon a revolting ominous vault and cracked it open for some slightly better loot. Inside, we found a core that let us craft a mace. For all of his crimes during our adventures, I sentenced Hollowed to death. The problem was actually hitting him, though.
A little bit more height. Use a wind charge.
I can't see shit.
Maybe you'll get the achievement for falling 50 fucking blocks.
Ah, I missed.
You missed.
RKO out of nowhere. Fuck.
Bro,
How close do you have to be? For fuck's sakes, how do you hit this?
You disingenuous, dense motherfucker.
Are you ready to die, sir?
And she has a massive paper orbs.
Are you ready to perish? Okay, stand as close as you can. I'm gonna just fucking kill myself. Ready?
Yeah, for the 50th time today, I'm ready.
It doesn't work. It's straight up not working. This is fucking impossible. Go watch like YouTube or something.
Already in.
There we go. Got it right as you said that.
To prove just how tough it was, I let him try it on me.
Nah, yeah, I see what you mean. It's really fucking hard.
Yeah.
I'm trying from the shorter distance. Like just falling off the ladder to hit you.
Yeah. It's definitely enough to kill someone.
Yeah.
I went back to the trial chamber since I was still missing a couple of achievements from there. I kept hitting projectiles from the breezes back at them, but it seemed like each hit only dealt about half a heart of damage. After doing it so many times, I started wondering if I was getting anywhere, and it didn't help that I kept dying to strays. Every hit had to be perfect, and the breezes would move right after firing, so by the time I hit the projectile back, they already dodged it. These enemies feel like they're designed to be more of an annoyance than an actual threat. He blew at me, but he didn't know that I blow back. On the way back to my house, I remembered I could craft breeze rods into breeze charges. I decided to test them out and jumped as high as I could. Who needs rockets when you've got hops like these? Then I headed to a swamp to fight a new skeleton variant, the bog skeleton. Apparently the new update removed an advancement for me since I technically didn't have all mobs killed anymore, but after defeating the bog skeleton, I reclaimed Monster Hunter. The rest of the session was spent sitting on a beach watching turtle eggs until they hatched and fishing for nautilus shells. We fished up all 8 of the required nautilus shells and I used them along with the heart of the sea to craft the conduit. As a side note, I also managed to trap a dolphin and named him Fucker because he was such a pain to capture. Each time a turtle grows, it drops a scute, and I needed 5 scutes to craft a turtle shell for the Turtle Master Potion, so a lot of time was spent waiting on these eggs to hatch. At last I finished collecting all the turtle scutes I needed and immediately brewed up a potion of the Turtle Master. With that done and out of the way, I spent some time researching each effect, where to get them, and how long they last from each source. We needed slime, so I figured out which chunks were slime chunks and mined out a chunk in hopes of slime spawning. No luck for a while, but it was worth a shot. Hollow died several times, losing his full kit. By his 3rd death, he was completely mentally checked out and rage quit.
Sorry you died.
Oof.
So hollowed. Oh, poor guy.
At the new base, I set up the beacon, imprisoned a new dolphin, Fucker 2, set up the conduit, dug down to a nearby trial chamber, and came back to find that Fucker 2 had mysteriously disappeared. I have 3 theories. 1, he jumped over this 2-block gap. 2, he stuck his head in a block and suffocated. 3, the CIA got him because he held state secrets. Please comment down below how you think Fucker 2 disappeared. Next, I dug out a chamber for the warden nearby, while Hollowed went off to capture Fucker 3. While I was digging for coal, I got the unfortunate news that Fucker 3 had already died. That was quick. I did some research, figured out how to make a redstone clock, and set up a potion dispenser. However, we still needed slime as our chunk mining efforts weren't producing any results. So I found a nearby swamp and waited for nighttime. Fun fact, during certain parts of moon cycles, slimes don't spawn at all. I don't really understand the point of this mechanic, but I guess it's kind of interesting. Much better. We made a couple of potions of oozing, kept one, and decided to test the other. On Hollowed's death, it spawned 2 medium-sized slimes, and then we ended up with way more slime than we put in. Infinite slime glitch? It's been down to the last few achievements for a while now, and we were getting antsy to finish them. I sent Hollowed back to the original base to gather supplies so I could focus on bringing the warden all the way from the deep dark to the trap. Oh, and during this stream, I learned they're making a Skibidi toilet movie. It was a dark day for humanity. After collecting the pieces of my newly shattered brain, I continued building a bridge connecting my tunnel to the main base. Hollowed also showed off a simple redstone machine that could hold the attention of a warden indefinitely, and probably a toddler too. Then came the dolphin wrangling. I tried a new method of containment where the dolphin would be suspended midair but just barely dip into the water. No chance of suffocating in a wall, right? How about getting launched into the air and hitting the ground with a meaty whack instead? Rip, unnamed dolphin. During our search for another victim, dolphin, I pointed out that the devs don't want dolphins to drop loot because they're endangered and don't want to encourage the killing of them. But working towards this achievement, man, it felt like running a dolphin meat grinder. Hoping to be done with dolphin wrangling, I returned to the deep dark with nothing but a name tag in my inventory. I spawned a warden and dubbed him Norton Antivirus. Naturally, he got tired of my bossing him around and killed me. When I got back, I found him chilling in the bottom of an adjacent cave. Hollowed stood guard while I dug a tunnel to get Norton back on track. Once we reached the water section of the path, Norton got sidetracked by fish and other water creatures. Wardens aren't the best swimmers. I held his attention while Hollowed went off and collected blocks to build a railing and keep the warden from wandering off the path. Finally, Norton was on the bridge and charging towards me, legitimately terrifying. But at last, I managed to lead him into the trap and captured him once and for all. Together, we entered the end, determined to snatch ourselves a shulker. I pearled through the end gate just fine, but Hollowed, well, he lost all of his gear again. Most of our invisibility potions were on him, but that wasn't even the worst part. Turns out, in my tests, the shulker could see me perfectly fine when I was invisible. I'm more upset about the wasted time than the wasted potions. Eventually, we regrouped with a boat and successfully boated a shulker. After a quick bridge construction, we rowed the shulker across and it killed itself. Perfect. Why do their own projectiles damage them? To top it off, an Enderman decided to walk right into my line of sight, so I died and got sent all the way back to base. After the both of us lost our kits, it was time to go back to basics and reacquire our armor and tools. Things got worse when I got swarmed by mobs, losing everything I had managed to recover. Morale? Dropping by the second. At this point, it felt like Mojang wanted to drive us insane by making these mobs suicidal. After some brainstorming, we concluded that healing the shulker during transit might work. We looked into instant healing versus healing over time potions, saw the gas tier requirement for the latter, and decided to go with the easier option. Between sessions, we came up with a new plan, this time involving packed ice so we could zip along it without it melting like regular ice. Between going back and forth for random items, I managed to fall off the edge in the exact same way Hollow did before. To get the shulker through the portal, Hollow discovered a special method, using a mushroom and bone meal to remove 3 of the portal blocks. The issue before was that the boat would go through first and then the shulker would teleport right out of it, still in the end. The diagonal portion of the bridge was pretty slow going. But once we hit the straight section, holy shit, I'm going so fast!
This is so fucking fast. Oh my god. Catching him, really.
At last, the shulker was in the overworld. We dug out a small enclosure and blocked it in, securing the little guy. With that done, we brewed up the last potion we needed, and we were finally ready to tackle the last Minecraft advancement. After a quick backup, we launched our first attempt. I drank the Raid Omen potion, and we fought it off. Then, I ran toward the trial chamber. Wait, where is it? Oh great, I'm lost in the woods mid-attempt. Yup, let's hit rewind on that one.
Ah, Fortnite.
Feeling prepared, we checked on the dolphin pit, only to find no dolphin. Fantastic. With everything set, we began our first attempt. Raid defeated. Trial chambered. Wait, we need another ominous bottle. Backup reloaded. On attempt number 1, raid defeated. Trial chamber checked. Dolphin dead. Oh well, let's find another one. Mining fatigued. Potion showered. Raid omened. Then, I got launched out from under the platform, keeping me close to everything. One reset later, and we were on to attempt number 1. Attempt number 1 didn't go so well, and I realized I'd been eating everything in the wrong order, which led us to attempt number 1. Man, still no luck. Something was off, but we couldn't figure out what, so we reset again and went for attempt number 1. This time, Hollowed got hit by a shulker and floated away, while I got hit and couldn't reach the water for the water-based effects. You gotta love that levitation. Outside of yet another round of attempts, failures, and scrambling to gather items we didn't know we still needed, this session didn't have much else going on. Sitting here in the editing room, I can't help but reflect on how soul-sucking this final achievement truly was. Simply discussing this process in hindsight makes me want to flip my desk, so I'm gonna hide my true emotions by speaking in robot language. Adjustments. Moved Warden closer by 1 block. Shulker died before we could even start. Reloaded save. Moved Shulker out of chamber to adjust potion dispenser. Shulker killed self. Reloaded save. Attempt number 1. Raid defeated. Trial chambered. Mining fatigued. Raid omened. Pushed out of chamber tunnel by flowing water. Dispenser signal blocked by pressure plate. Reattempting. Adjustments. Move dispenser setup back 1 block. Did the shulker literally just kill himself?
He killed himself. No.
Okay, reloaded save. Dispenser successfully moved without shulker suicide. Attempt number 1. Raid defeated. Trial chambered. Mining fatigue. Raid omened. 8 enchanted golden apple early because I wondered how long the effects lasted for. Turns out not long enough for the rest of the consumables. Also failed to get Dolphin's Grace. Also, shulker was already dead by the time I entered the chamber. Adjustments. Took stock of all potions. Attempt number 1. Raid defeated. Trial chambered. Mining fatigue. Raid flowing water block still pushed me into the chamber. Prematurely. Adjustment. Filled the water block. Attempt number 1. Raid defeated. Trial chambered. Mining fatigue. Raid omened. Dispenser did not shoot me with spectral arrow. Not sure why. Attempt number 1. Raid defeated. Trial chambered. Mining fatigue. Raid omened. This was the perfect run, except for the fact that I forgot the suspicious stew that was sitting in a chest, thanks to all the backup reloads I'd done. Attempt number 1. Raid defeated. Trial chambered. Mining fatigue. Raid omened. Adjustments. Took a backup from after mining fatigue was gained. This sped up time in between attempts. Attempt number 1. Forgot the suspicious stew. Again. Attempt number 1. Seriously. Grab the stew. Attempt number 1. No! Attempt number 1. Oh look. He forgot the stew. Attempt number 1. Grab the stew, you absolute imbecile. Adjustment. Hollowed had to leave. Swapped him out for Couch Baby. Let's go ahead and skip to the good part, because we might be here all day if I don't. Attempt number 1. It was here I realized I left the suspicious stew in the chest, after trying to craft the Wither Rose into a suspicious stew itself. Okay, wait, I don't have a suspicious stew on me. Wait, what? Oh, you know what? I'm retarded. Couch Baby.
Are you not getting blindness because you don't have a suspicious
It
stew?
was no, it was in the chest the whole time. I thought I had it on me.
Figured out.
Now fully convinced that I have a mental disability, I took a backup. The dolphins screw me over again. Attempt number 1. Dispenser handed me the arrow instead of shooting me. Attempt number 1. The dispenser politely handed me the arrow again. Attempt number 1. Finally, furious cocktail, and how did we get here? On our first try. Hey.
Not you guys. Not you guys.
I can rest easy now. How the fuck did I get out here?
Did you get it?
Oh no, you floated through the glass on my screen and just like floated up through it. Yeah, you got it.
Oh
Yay,
god.
good job.
After half a stack of streams and nearly a stack of attempts, Minecraft has been achievement hunted. All things considered, I really enjoy Minecraft. It's hard not to. The fun comes from what you choose to do. Anything is possible as long as you're willing to put in the time and effort. However, in a purely achievement-based lens, I've got to be honest, some of the more recent updates haven't exactly hit the mark. The more status effects they add, the harder how did we get here becomes. Suicidal shulkers and dolphins? Come on Mojang, let's fix that. Why do Sniffers have an 8-minute cooldown just to dig up a useless seed? Why do moon cycles affect slime spawn rates? And why does the achievement tracker for each achievement only show a vague bar instead of a useful list? If I were to rate How Did We Get Here on its own, it's a bottom of the barrel 1 out of 10. It's so bad that I'm willing to separate it from the rest of the game entirely, which would be a 9 out of 10. But if I had to combine everything from a pure achievement hunting perspective, I'd give Minecraft a 6 out of 10. And that's everything I have for you folks. Oh right, hey Hollowed, you think you can just come into my content and make me do some stupid game because you give me money? Well come on then, you sick son of a bitch, I can take any game you pick.
Hollow Knight is a 2017 Metroidvania video game developed and published by independent developer Team Cherry. The player controls the knight and sexual
Thank you for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, drop a like and a subscribe for future achievement hunts. Wait. Gluttony. Lust. Greed. Sloth. Wrath. Envy. Pride. Oh dear God. We've committed all 7 deadly sins. So clearly it's time for me to go on a pilgrimage and get my head straight. See you next time. Goodbye.